Sie hören Sport und Musik.
Das Spiel ist aus! Deutschland ist Weltmeister!
In a world where fans fight over whether to call it football, or soccer, two German men defy the odds and call it Fußball. Bringing you inside the German-American football experience. And now, here are your hosts, the Schnitzel Boys.
Woohoo! High energy start of show.
Oh, yay!
Yeah, Monday night is Schnitzel night.
That's
the
right.
Schnitzel boys are back.
Enough of this
Monday night slot.
Enough of this crazy back and forth
Well,
scheduling
we still have more.
here and there, random times and days. Here we are, Monday night.
It's
back to
Schnitzel
the
night.
usual. This is Schnitzel night.
Sometimes you make it a.
I could go for a Schnitzel right now. Actually,
Well, I might break my vegetarianism. I almost did it on the road because I went to this place at Good Schnitzel. I didn't. But there's a big watch party at the local German brew house here in Los Angeles.
Mm-hmm.
Not the one we went to, a different one called das Wurst House, I think.
Okay.
And I've been invited to the holiday party, and they have a delicious looking schnitzel on the menu. Oh, excuse me. But they also have a vegetarian currywurst. That's more my
That's your
thing.
speed.
So I might be doing that. But, we probably still have one more special left. Maybe after the semis, we'll probably meet up and talk, probably, right? Later this week.
Sounds good. Yeah.
Sure, right? And then we'll have a 3-hour special right after the third place game.
A week
Right after the bronze medal
yes,
game.
That's right.
No, right after the bronze medal game, right after the third place game. We'll talk about it in depth. It'll just be 3 hours. All we'll talk about is that bronze
That's
medal
always
game.
the most important. That's the most important game.
Most important game.
A lot of people.
Last game for Germany.
A lot of
remember,
people
against
look
Portugal.
past it, but
Not us. It's
not
almost
us.
the only game we look forward
It's
to in the whole
only
tournament.
right. This is all just a pretense. The whole tournament is really just a pretense for us to watch the third place game.
I get that bronze medal, and then that'll be that. We'll probably won't even watch the final. We won't even mention it on the podcast.
I
Maybe
mean,
quick-
at that point, enough
Yeah.
already, right?
Yeah.
like,
Morocco, good job. Whatever. Cinderella story of the ages. Who cares?
Oh, Morocco winning the cup, great. But
Great.
listen,
Anyway.
France against Argentina for third place.
third
That's where it's
place.
at.
You see, Christopher Nkunku finally played. I'm just making that up. He hasn't played yet. Anyway, we got World Cup talk, but we have so much off-field, off World Cup stuff to cover.
That's right.
It's just like out with the old, in with the new. So much craziness. I feel we should start very quickly up top. In the U.S. soccer circles, in the podcast circles, everyone's giving their thoughts out. I feel we should do the same. Rest in power, Grant Wall.
Yeah.
Very legendary U.S. soccer writer, covered 8 World Cups and I think 5 FIFA Women's Cups and Women's World Cups. And he's just one of the mainstream soccer writers. At the age of 48, he he passed away during the Netherlands-USA game or just afterwards, seemingly very suddenly.
Netherlands, Argentina, right? Yeah.
Oh, was it Netherlands, Argentina? Argentina, sorry. And he was sick. He did notice he had a respiratory infection of some sort. That's what he felt. And I guess it was more serious than imagined. Rest in peace, Grant Wall.
Yeah.
That one. Bring it up. Yeah.
No, it's definitely. That one hit me hard. I mean, it's just upsetting, for somebody to. He was talking about how he was, he had left sports, or he got fired, I guess, from Sports Illustrated, and he was building his own subscription newsletter thing, doing podcasts, and I guess he felt a little overworked. He felt like he was
working a lot. He
was working a lot, and he just kind of, I don't know. That just it's just unsettling when somebody your age just kind of drops like that. And obviously a big loss for the community, and not somebody. I mean, just a surreal event all around.
Yeah, and I think he's going to be a really big loss because Grant was his own brand. He was a very, very brave and honest journalist, and he didn't care how many ruffles he feathered. He did it all the time. It's funny listening to. If I just finished listening to "In Soccer We Trust," the podcast with Heath Pierce, Jimmy Conrad, and Charlie Davies, and they were having their little remembrance of Grant. And all of them were not amazing stories. They're just like, yeah, I didn't have, I had my issues with Grant, but so a lot of people like, and Grant was just doing the work for us. He was doing the work for the public. He wasn't one of those. U.S. Soccer gets a lot of criticism for the journalism being too soft, being too boys clubby, that kind of thing. And Grant very much, I think, did a good job keeping.
Yeah, he was not that, right? Yeah, I mean, he was very, very principled guy, especially these days in the way that journalism works. It's not always. I mean, he left Fox, right, because he didn't like
their lazy journalism.
How sort of cozy they were with Russia when that was happening. He had issues
their criticism of analyzing African teams. He called them out while he was hired by them. And he's just like, Fox Sports is very lazy when it comes to covering African teams, and he called him racist. That's when he was on the books at Fox Sports.
Right.
Grant Wall ran for FIFA presidency. I don't know if you ever remember that.
Oh, that's right.
A long time ago. That's the thing with Grant. Grant was very mainstream because Sports Illustrated wanted him to become a basketball writer, which he wasn't good at.
Yeah, he had that very famous cover of LeBron James. Was the first people, yeah.
And he's like, no, I want to be a soccer writer. I want to do that. And he did it. He did it very mainstream, like sport. He was the reason Sports Illustrated covered soccer for a long time. And then, in addition to that, he was always independent. He did his own thing. He went on independent podcasts. He was friends with a lot of foreign journalists. He was just always around. Like he impacted so much of the community, independent and establishment. Players like he co-hosted podcasts with Landon Donovan. But then he would also go on a small indie podcast too, no problemo. He was just always there for covering U.S. soccer, just getting the coverage. He also very much championed the women's game, more so than any other U.S. soccer journalist I could think of. And he was also he always was ready to challenge. And I worry moving forward. I think to myself, like he was always one of the first few guys I always go to get a response from something. And I'm wondering, who's going to fill that void with him gone moving forward. I don't know. U.S. soccer coverage is not going to be the same. So
no, I mean, for however he did it, he just connected with a large audience somehow, and we'll see what happens next. Also, just sort of as a New Yorker, I mean, me living in New York, he was a real New Yorker. He was just around. Right. I saw it seem at Smithfield couple times. That was his spot, and so just. I mean, to me, it felt a little bit like. I mean, I didn't know him, but it sort of felt. I felt sad about it. It did really affected me.
It is one of those things too. I've never met him, but there was that case of the founder of Total Soccer Show. I listened to him for 10 years in my ears, just like Grant. I listened to him in my ears. And one day they're just gone. And it's like, well, I just read his tweet from 5 hours ago. I learned because someone texted me about like, what's up with Grant? I'm like, what's up with Grant? Was he okay? They're like, no, he died. I'm like, excuse me? And like, I just listened to his podcast that day. He sounded fine. It's one of those things where although they don't know you, but you are one of their audience.
You feel
like we know them. Yeah. Right. And then there's been a few cases like that. It's just it is very odd and very weird. And, my thoughts to his family and, his brother especially. And rest in peace, Grandma.
Yeah.
On that somber note. Speaking of, what was next on our list? Was it World Cup? Speaking of World Cup, what were we doing?
Yeah, we can talk a little bit. Could talk a little bit about the quarterfinals. It was definitely, I mean, they delivered, right? We thought those were going to be big matchups, and all 4 games were pretty memorable, I thought.
What a cup, right? This is a good
I
World
mean,
Cup.
really, the tournament has been great. As
Yeah.
much as we try to poo-poo it,
Yeah.
it's as much as we wish that it was.
The off the field
I
stuff.
mean, I don't know, the off the field stuff. Anyway, aside from that, it's been great. It's been amazing. I mean, obviously, also I'm sad about Germany not being in there, and
there was a graphic passed around of teams that created great moments and then but never capitalized or whatever, and Germany's by far tippy top of that list. They just didn't capitalize on any of it. They made so many and capitalized on so few.
Expected goal difference, I think we're still third, like, of all the teams, even though we've been out for I mean, that's the thing. We were not that bad. I didn't think we were that bad, and just a little, like it was math. The Dortmund defenders and math is what
got us out of there.
What killed us,
and maybe lack of a knipser, lack of stick. We can maybe talk a little more about Flick. Should he have played more Makoko more? Should he have played Fulkrug more, which is sort of the main criticism.
I mean, I think I've said that a few times. I think that's I definitely felt like we would have been better with a 9. But even, I mean, that's just it's like you don't always, the best teams don't always win. And sometimes, we've said that before, every run to the final or every run to win the tournament always includes a game or two where you're just hanging on and you're just surviving. And I think that's why France now is, for me, is the favorite. I think they dodged one. They dodged a bullet. They were not good. They were not good in that game, and they still
against
advanced.
England. It's funny. I hear that. I don't know. England had the ball more, right, for the most part. But the few times the French were dangerous, they scored. They scored every time. They were very effective and very clinical. They just looked way more dangerous. England had to have 2 penalties just to get on the score sheet. Obviously the second one was missed.
Well,
but
no, I mean, I'm not saying, I don't even necessarily mean that England was like so much better.
Right.
I just thought that I mean, I thought France was going to win, but I thought first of all, the one thing, like, 2 teams that just did not press.
Right.
Wild, like, very rare, kind of, it was a very sort of old-fashioned feeling game in a way.
Crosses,
like, it was just sort of like, all right, pass them back and forth, and France especially was like, we will just let you come, but then they were not buttoned up enough in the back. In the first half I thought in the first half they were good. In the second half, those long balls worked for the most part. Osaka made it past their defender. They also, their whole central defense had a wild game, like, just completely out of control. I mean, Hugo Lloris, even in goal, was kind of felt like a chicken with his head cut off. Like, he was just kind of all over.
But he had like 6 saves in that game. He only had 3 up until the tournament, up until that point.
Yeah. No, he had some saves, but he did not look. He didn't look like he was fully in control. He looked like he was a little freaked out. And and same with, like, Upamecano did not have a good game. And I just thought, and offensively, they really didn't have much. I thought I was literally about to text a friend of mine right before Giroud scored that goal. I was going to text, like, lobbing it to old man Giroud is not going to do it, for them.
But it did.
It did it, but only with a little help from Harry Maguire and a lucky deflection. I think if you would have told England before the game that the French offense is going to be mostly lobbing it in the middle to Giroud, they would have said, yes, please. Like, that is, we have 2 people who can handle that pretty comfortably. The guy who aged out of the Prem. And, but yeah, that's the thing. Sometimes that's how it goes. Like, the game, I thought their game plan, the French game plan, was poor.
Right.
And sort of failed, and they didn't adjust. And England, the opposite. Like, in the beginning, I thought they were sort of lacking ideas. against the French as they were sitting back. But as the game went on, I thought they did well to, especially Saka. That was weird that Southgate took him out. He was one of the first subs. Thought Saka had that right side every time, and he was dangerous every time. In the second half, he came that way, and so yeah, it was just an odd game that way. And by the end of it, I felt a little sad for England. It's like a very unfamiliar feeling. It's like, wow.
Well, this is the England
really
I know.
Deserved it.
This is the England from 98, 02, 06. That's the England I know. They're a pretty good team that makes the quarters. They can't really. The problem with England, this is a problem I've had forever, is they're very good, but they can't beat big teams. I don't think they ever have competitively, or at least in tournaments. I think the record of teams they've beaten, someone laid out all the teams they've beaten. It's all recently. Second and third tier over the last 3 tournaments in its entirety. Name any big team they beat. I mean, I guess
it's Germany's second or third tier now. I suppose that's fair.
I guess that's good in the Euros. I guess that is a good point.
I mean, I guess it's fair. I don't know.
That's an exception.
I'm not going to argue with you there.
They did beat Germany. That is an exception. That's true. But for the most part, they don't do well against other big teams. Italy beat them. France beat them. So. I think they have the potential to go all the way. They have the potential to win it. But, for whatever reason, when it comes to big games and big teams, the English don't show up. So I don't know what to tell you.
That's what I think. Yeah, the result.
But it was a 50-50 game.
In the sense of the result, you're right. But they very much showed up. I think they get.
Well,
they were unlucky. They were unlucky in this.
They scored unlucky. They missed a second penalty. I mean, how?
Well, I guess.
And they're clamoring for a third. Right now, they're saying we should have had 3 penalties. It's like 2 penalties is enough. That 1/3 penalty is not a penalty. It was outside the box.
Yeah, there was a lot of talk about the ref, which I wasn't sure. I wasn't exactly sure what that was about. I thought he was. Yeah, I thought he did okay. I mean, certainly didn't.
About a lot of the refs. That one, I thought the ref was fine. The English wanted more. It's like he gave you 2 penalties. I don't know it. Anyway, good on the French.
Those were both. They were both legit. Like those penalties were not.
Yeah, and the one he didn't give was legitimately not given, in my opinion, because it was outside the box.
Well, presumably they checked that and decided it was outside the box. Yeah.
And then I guess we're going to a different game, but like a lot of criticism was given to the ref between Netherlands and Argentina. 18 yellow cards, a World Cup record. But I thought he did decent. I mean, I guess I wasn't on the field, but those 2 teams were just going at each other. Like, if I were the ref, I would have given red card after red card. It's just
traditionally pretty dirty.
They're very dirty, and the ref was doing his best. Maybe it was a little soft.
I didn't think, Argentina was really on his case. I didn't think.
Yeah,
I didn't have the. I thought he was poor. I thought he didn't have control of the game. He gave a lot of yellow cards. He didn't. He gave a yellow to a Dutch player for a deliberate handball, and then Messi did the same, and he didn't get a yellow. I don't know. Right. I didn't think. I felt like he was even sort of going for the Argentinian shithousery too much. I didn't think he was. I thought he was not great, but I didn't think he was not great in one direction.
That's true.
Particularly.
He should have been harder. He should have controlled the game a little better. That's true. But that game's tough to control. I mean, those players are going at each other.
Two traditionally pretty dirty
teams.
Yeah.
And it's so funny with this World Cup. Like it says, dare to predict me. Dare to predict me, says this World Cup. Because the game was up 2-0. Argentina got a penalty from a dive, effectively. And I tweeted, I'm like, this is why you dive. Because now the game is done, 2-0. Argentina's won the game, and off to history they go.
Yeah, I mean...
And then, Schnitzel boys curse. Netherlands came back and scored 2 before the end. I'm like, okay, now we got ourselves a game here. And then Argentina were able to get through on the skin of their teeth. And I did feel they were the better team for the most part.
Yeah,
I don't think.
And Emi Martinez came through. He also did not look great in the game, but then penalty kicks, he did well in the Copa America. Thankfully, he did not do his like hip thrust celebration again that he did the last time. But he did go after Louis. What's that?
You have to remind me. I don't.
In the Copa
like
America, he did this very like, well, like more like sort of, it made me feel uncomfortable when I was watching it. So
in Qatar, they'd throw him in jail for that.
I guess he would be. Yeah, I don't know what would happen. But he didn't mince words after. Did you see that when he was talking about Louis van Gaal and he was like
said they insulted us.
He talked to him. Yeah, and he talked to him. You could read his lips, and he basically told him that he fucked him twice.
Oh wow, nice.
So
what was the first time?
Well, or was it the two? It was the two penalty, right? Two penalties.
Oh, I guess, or something. Yeah, I just love that. Well, Louis van Gaal, I don't know. They were really against Louis van Gaal. I don't remember Louis van Gaal saying much that big. I don't know. He said he insulted them. I guess whatever. Louis van Gaal's got a mouth on him, but he's much more less of an iron. Like back in the day, it was my way or the highway. He seems like an older, chiller dude. This tournament. He seems like just hanging out. Angel Di Maria said he was his worst coach he ever had. And then Louis van Gaal was like, oh, I'm sorry to hear that from Angel Di Maria or whatever. I liked him or something. Like, I don't think he was really. And he mentioned that the tournament begins for them now, which was a little disrespectful to the U.S. He's like, now the tournament actually begins for us.
Yeah, it's not
to me, that's a sign of respect to Argentina.
Yes.
But
so, let me ask you this. So when Argentina won, they were definitely in the faces of the Dutch players, coaches. What do you think about that?
There was a viral video of Leo Messi. I think it was yelling at the referee, telling him like, "What the fuck you looking at? Walk off, get out of here." Like the Argentinians hated that ref, but the ref, just like the English, the ref gave them the soft penalty. Like the ref gave them the game.
I didn't think, but they were also like in the face of the Dutch. There was this also picture after where they were like basically gloating at during the
penalties.
Opposing team. Yeah.
Well, before that, during the penalties, the Dutch tried to mindfuck the Argentinians, and I think that was in response to that. So I'm all about that.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if you saw the video.
What did the Dutch do?
One Dutch player distracted the ref. So the other Dutch player would go to the penalty taker and make fun of him while he sets his ball on the penalty spot, which I've never seen before.
Oh,
they did that during the final shootout to try to mind.
Oh, and so then they were. Oh, well, then that's fair.
That's what I'm saying. So then the Argentinians won and told them to go screw off. I'm all about that. And then Leo Messi yelled off the ref, probably because the ref didn't control any of that. So I'm actually all about that. Leo Messi doesn't get mad a lot. And the fact that he's playing with real fire is lovely. I like it. He wasn't happy with Lewandowski, slapped him in the face. And he wasn't very friendly about that.
Yeah, it's like,
and he played with some real fire today. He's like, Louis van Gaal insulted Messi or something, and he got pissed. And when Messi gets pissed, he shows everyone why he's the best. This is what I want. I want Argentina, France in the final. I want Leo Messi to fucking run circles around Kylian Mbappe and just destroy him and score 3 goals at his face and show him who's boss. That's what I want to happen. However, this World Cup dares to be predicted.
It's been wild.
Croatia versus Morocco is happening, and Morocco's going to get it, I think.
Morocco is going to win the whole thing?
I'm joking. Granted, it might happen. I still believe in Argentina-France final. I think France is the stronger team, honestly. But I'm hoping Argentina will shine through and they'll win the title. And very rarely are you going to see me root for Argentina in my life.
I was going to say, interesting.
But these are the options. You got 2 teams in the have never won a World Cup club, which is cool. Croatia and Morocco. One expected, one unexpected in Morocco. Then you have a team that hasn't won a World Cup since I was a baby. I think I was 1 month old when they won last time they won the World Cup. So Argentina is a team that really prides itself in the sport, and Leo Messi is his last chance. Poetically, I think it should be their World Cup. If it's not going to go to Brazil, it should go to Argentina. And then the other one is France. So France is like, yeah, we'll do it again. And I'm like, fuck France. You already had it once. Relax. I want to see you win it
No
twice.
repeats. All right.
No
Don't count out Croatia. I think they are, the Croatia now are like Italy used to be or Germany used to be. They're the team that will take it if no one else steps up to win it. Because there's always that, right? There's always that team. I mean, it's like Germany in the 80s, I will say.
Right.
Like where we made
the bad German teams.
Made the final with some questionable squads because they didn't beat themselves. Like just had played solid defense and be like, no, we don't quite have the weapons to dazzle and dominate, but if everybody else just kind of craps out, they're the team that's going to take it. And I think Croatia. I mean, it's like Italy. 06 was sort of like that when Zidane sort of self-destructed.
France shot themselves in the foot.
France, yeah, and I think Croatia could be that team if everybody else is struggles. They will be there because they've been solid. And I mean, that was just wild, that game where Brazil was struggling. They had a good, and then Neymar scores that crazy goal in overtime, and you think, oh, that's it. Took them a while, but here we go. They're going to now
again. This tournament refuses to be predicted. They're like, that was screw that.
That's where I thought, oh, this is what what happened to France on Sunday. I thought, oh, this is going to happen to Brazil on Saturday. They're going to survive this just barely, and then they're going to go on to win the whole thing. But nope.
Well, those two games that day was Brazil, Croatia, Argentina, Holland. I think it was the same day, right?
Right.
And they both went in overtime. Croatia,
both penalties,
Brazil getting their one goal, and they celebrate by having everybody in the attacking half being like, and Croatia's like, we still got 7 minutes left, and none of the defenders are defending, so let's go. And they went and they did it with their serious player, Luka Modric, even Perisic, and there was a moment, and I don't like bringing him up, but Craig Burley said something which I agreed with, which I rarely ever do. I think the dude doesn't even watch soccer, and he gets paid to be an analyst of a sport he barely watches. But anyway, he said there was a moment when a young Brazilian dude, I forget, was it Rodrigo or Anthony, like got it out and he looked over at Ivan Perisic with he was like taunting him. Remember this? Like right, a little taunting him. We got 1-0, taunting Ivan Perisic, really cocky about it. And he's like, that rubbed me the wrong way because who's Ivan Perisic? Who's he? He's got a much better career than this little freaking Anthony, this little 21-year-old. Who knows who that guy is? I'm sure he'll have a better career later. But right now, this is Ivan Perisic. Show some respect, okay? This is Bayern München legend, Inter Milan legend. The dude knows what's up. So, he's not having any of it. Takes the ball, gets back to the keeper. He's like, keep playing the game. And then Ivan Perisic gets an equalizer and takes them straight to the penalties, and then they win. So, lesson learned from a young brat, I say. And also,
it's not over till it's over.
Not over till it's 1-0. Go back, defend with your hearts. It's Croatia. Show some respect, and they didn't.
Yeah, it's
and they
not
lost.
like, I mean, they made the final last time. It's not like, it's not like they're chumps.
Yeah, and Brazil gets eliminated the quarters again. That's tactics. So it's like they were, in my opinion, the best squad of the tournament, with the best feelings, the best playing.
Yeah,
they really could figure it out.
They were defensively committed.
Right.
They were pressing, they were defending from the front.
But they got cocky. They lost focus for 7 minutes and they got punished.
Yeah, that was
it. It's just like, man, figure it, go defend, man. All of your players, they got you on the counter. And all your players were in front.
Yeah, it's wild.
What the hell is that? So deservedly, they got knocked out, in my opinion. Anyway,
and Croatia, I think, are better than the Dutch team. I think Argentina is just not. This is not a given.
Oh no, absolutely.
That Argentina is going to win this.
Yeah. No, I only saying Argentina is a little more poetic. I would love for Croatia to win because I want a new club to join the team. I'm all about that. I just want to make sure France doesn't win. That's all I want. I don't want France to win. If Morocco wins, I mean, that will be huge. Because they'll be like, well, if they can win, the U.S. can win, right? Can the U.S. win then too?
That's true. I mean,
Shades of Greece 2004 with Morocco.
Morocco won't win.
Well, this tournament refuses to be predicted. But anyway, it wouldn't be a Schnitzel Boys podcast without some NYCFC talk, even a World Cup podcast, because we have Daniel Young on the chat. He says the Netherlands only played well for 20 minutes. This reminded me of NYCFC versus Toronto in October 2019 when we only played well for 30 minutes, got eliminated despite having
a man of my own heart, drawing parallels from World Cup games to NYCFC games. That is NYCFC where it's Toronto, at, Daniel Young.
In fact, when I was watching the Netherlands, is this the Netherlands-Argentina game? I was like, this reminds me so much of that Toronto NYCFC game. Everything's the same. Everything's the same.
Well, I think they were there. Well, anyway, you want me to get into it?
You know what? No, because we don't have an hour. You know what? You know what else is good about Argentina winning the World Cup? An MLS player wins a World Cup. He left for the season or whatever. He went to join Argentina, and he was part of the World Cup winning team. You know, that's never happened in MLS. That'll be a good little MLS factoid.
Argentina, right.
Thiago Almeida dominating.
Since we're talking about NYCFC, I can show off this just arrived just now here. My team signed. I got a team signed jersey from Tommy. I supported Tommy McNamara's charity auction. He had a charity auction.
Yes, it's charity where he goes to the for Africa lung cancer. He gives everyone mullets, and then it's called mullets for kids.
Okay.
And he flies back, right? Isn't that the charity?
That is this other charity. This was the lung cancer. This is the lung cancer thing. The mullet charity. Yeah. Anyway.
He flies the New York's most famous barbers to Chad, goes to refugee camps.
He doesn't even have a mullet anymore, Stefan. His mullet's been
cut it off for the charity. Anyway, where's Tommy Mac these days? New England?
New England Revolution. He had. I guess he still has friends at NYCFC. He got them to sign a jersey, and that was at auction. He sent me a personal card. I met Tommy McNamara years ago. He was at a fan event, and I won a prize.
As a fan event.
I won a prize. I won a prize for knowing that his favorite animal is the penguin.
Oh, that's right. I met Tommy McNamara once. I went into a Burger King on 36th Street, and he was working behind the counter. And I was like, "Yo, Tommy Mac, what's up?" And he's like, "Yeah, can I give you a Big Mac?" He's like, "No, you can't. It's a Burger King. I'll do the Impossible Whopper, please." And that was, and then right after that, he was signed by NYCFC.
So not only was he working at Burger King, he also didn't even know their menu. He was just terrible at working. That's why he had to choose a pro soccer career, because
he was fired.
He was fired. He was not good enough. Couldn't hack. Okay.
On his way home, it was really windy, and the wind threw a flyer in his face. He's like, "What the?" He took off his tryout hat. It's a tryout.
NYCFC,
and he went, and then the rest is history.
When Tommy McNamara first came on the field in the inaugural season, I did make that joke. I was like, "This is a guy from the third rail who won a contest. Like, he does not get to play for 20 minutes. He did not look like a pro player, but he was. Listen, I love Tommy.
He was a warrior.
He was a warrior. He's not just a warrior. He also had some smarts. Like, he was a smart. You could just see how he was a sharp player. He's like the first, or one of the first players I remember who to figure out how to play off of David Villa. He just would find the spaces to be in, and he was just a sharp guy. Anyway, so I got the jersey.
He's the first NYCFC player to figure that out. I'm sure plenty of players throughout the
right.
I'm sure he wasn't the first guy to figure out to play against David Villa.
On that overall pretty shitty inaugural 2015 NYCFC.
Yeah, Frank Lampard couldn't figure it out. Yeah.
He was hurt. He was hurt for most of that early. Anyway, if you keep goading me, I'm just going to talk about this more. So.
Morocco. Okay, I'm going to change the subject. Morocco beat Portugal. Okay, last game to talk about.
Oh, amazing.
Morocco, like Portugal, didn't have much to offer. Cristiano Ronaldo was benched because of his attitude. And we got players with attitude. Yeah, because of his and probably because of his player. You don't know, he was pissed off for being taken off 2 games ago, remember? And then Fernando Santos saw it later, so benched him, and then his replacement scored a hat trick. They won 6-1.
Yeah, but was that for behavior, or was that just because he's not that good anymore?
You mean for this last game we had,
or
the
both?
Portugal-Morocco game? No, behavior, and then his replacement, he was benched for punishment of behavior, because when he was taken off the field, he was visibly pissed off and threw his socks around. And Fernando Santos didn't see that until the replay, and he's like, "What?
Oh,
You're benched."
and then
And
he
benched his ass.
All right, that's it.
Entirely disciplinary. Good thing for the Portuguese fans. It ended up being a blessing in disguise tactically, because his replacement actually became a better member of the team and scored 3 goals, blah, blah, blah. So and then he's like, well, let's keep it rolling. And Portugal just had no answers for this. We talked about earlier how hard it is to play against a team that puts their entire team behind the ball and like, come break us down. Plus, we'll get you on the counter. And Morocco's been playing that to a T. They're doing it really well. They are a tough nut to crack. They've not been cracked.
Incredible defensive performance throughout. Really amazing.
You know who's looking really good?
Who's
out of all
really
this?
good?
The Canadian national team.
What?
They were eliminated second. I'm like, oh, Canada sucks. And who was in their group? Croatia and Morocco. Croatia and Morocco have then eliminated freaking everybody else that got on in the semis. They eliminated Belgium. Morocco knocked off Belgium. They knocked off Spain, right? And they knocked off Portugal. And they're like, who's next? The French? Give me your bet. Half of their team was born in France. They know those boys. So it'll be a fun. So we got France and Morocco in one semi, Argentina, Croatia in the other. I'm still thinking Argentina and France in the final, and Argentina wins. That's where my heart's speaking. I know you don't like to predict, but if you had to, what are you thinking with the semis moving forward?
I think, France is going to beat Morocco, and Croatia is going to be a rematch from 4 years ago.
Rematch. Who's going to win? Is Croatia going to get the revenge? I hope.
Who's going to win the final? No, France is going to win the final again.
Oh, that's so boring. But I guess back to back. I mean, the French deserve it. They freaking won. They should have won Euro 2016. They won the last World Cup, deservedly so. They didn't have a great Euro. I mean, what happened with them in the Euros? I guess they made it to the semis, right, or something. I don't remember. For whatever reason, I guess they can't win the Euros. And now they're at the World Cup. They have such a deep team. This team is a team that lost Paul Pogba and Karim Benzema and N'Golo Kante at the beginning of the tournament.
Yeah,
and they're better than everybody. I mean, for crying out loud, the depth in that team.
They are very, very deep. Yep.
Oh, knee deep
in players. Players left and right.
Okay, so you got the France doing another one, a repeat. I got Argentina. Bring it in. Diego Maradona died this year. Leo Messi gets his last title. They're in the streets of Buenos Aires, and they get the third star finally. After waiting, I mean, that's 36 years they waited for that tournament. I hope it goes to Argentina. And like I said, I won't vote for Argentina much, but to me, this makes the most sense. Cool. So that's the World Cup. I guess we should move on to, speaking of Cristiano Ronaldo and player management, we have some moral questions. The second half of the show, or the last segment here, we have a few moral dilemmas. Things are pretty gray. They're not black and white. They're pretty gray. So I'm going to ask you them, and then you tell me what you think. It's not just for the first segment. We also have a couple other topics with the same sort of theme. But first and foremost, let's talk the drama surrounding the Gio Reyna, Greg Berhalter, U.S. men's national team soap opera that's been happening since the beginning of the World Cup. It just came to a boil the last week, but it's been going on for a while. So I will I'll do a little rundown.
That was the question on everybody's mind. Why, right? Why didn't Gio Reyna get more time? Now we know.
And then Eric Ronaldo came out with his stuff. People are like, oh, Eric Ronaldo, he just wants attention. And then he walked himself back. However, Eric Ronaldo is slowly being vindicated. Which I thought I would never say.
What? We have not talked about this. We have a different. You have your own take on this. Let's hear it.
Let's do a quick timeline.
Lay it out for me.
Quick timeline. So, Gio Reyna's not playing. People wondering why. Asking to fake an injury, a little this. Celebration video. He's not celebrating. People are like, what's going on with Gio? What's going on? Tournament ends. Gio Reyna puts on his Instagram, disappointing tournament, is what he said, which is interesting because I don't know if anybody else said the same thing. He's like, I want to go back, play well for Dortmund, finish off the season, have a good season. That's all he said. A little cryptic, but whatever. Then Greg Berhalter goes to New York City to some leadership conference. I'd love to talk about that. Why the hell he's immediately going to some leadership conference. And he does this whole speech on we had a player who was problematic for us. And as coach, I put it on the players to decide what to do with him. And he had to go in front of everybody and really apologize and go back and apologize, done mea culpa. And we were about to send him home. It was that bad. And further reporting confirms, I think Tom Boger from MLSsoccer.com confirmed it with Athletic following up, that, yeah, they're talking about Gio Reyna. And then Jason McIntyre was on The Herd with Colin Cowherd, or whatever his name, the Herd, that show, and confirmed that it got so close that it was a vote, a staff vote. I think people are saying it was a player's vote, but according to In Soccer We Trust, it was, I'm getting sources from all over the place, I'm on the ground here investigating this. According to In Soccer We Trust, it was a staff vote. 13 players wanted him to stay. 13 staff members wanted him to stay. 12 people wanted him to go. It was a 13 to 12 vote.
Wait, so there's 25?
I think there has to be.
Like
unless it's wrong. Maybe it is
like the nutritionist gets a vote? Like what is who are these 25?
Maybe Ernie, maybe Brian McBride. I don't know. I wasn't there. So it's either the players or the staff.
I thought it was
according to In Soccer We Trust with Charlie Davies, he had insider info that said it was the staff. They all agreed it was the staff, not the players. That's what they said. Or it was the players.
But the staff is not 25. I mean,
well, that's the thing. Maybe they are. I have to Google it. I got this information.
But that's what I'm saying. The travel, the guy who makes the travel arrangements gets to vote whether.
I think he gets 2 votes. Rumor has it there was a vote and it was tight. Let's just put it that way.
Okay. Yeah, I read that too. 13 to 12. I thought it was the players because there's 25 other players. That makes sense.
Yeah, I agree too. And then I listened to a podcast with 3 former pros who are involved with the U.S. soccer scene. They said, just to be clear, it wasn't the players, it was the staff. That's what they said.
But then it's 20. Okay. All right.
I have to Google how big.
Go ahead. I'm not gonna grill you at every turn here.
It doesn't really matter. I mean, I guess that kind of matters, but so anyway, so then that happens. Then Gio Reyna has to come on Instagram and make a statement. And his statement was, listen, mea culpa, I did bad. Greg Berhalter told me ahead of the tournament that I would have a very limited involvement. And that pissed me off because I work hard and I think I'm good. So I fucking acted out. And then I had to apologize in front of the players and apologize. And I think they accepted my apology. And that was that. I'm surprised that this did not end in-house where it was supposed to. I'm paraphrasing what he's saying. I'm very surprised that U.S. soccer staff members are now going public at it. The World Cup's not even over. The semis haven't even happened yet. I mean, the plane that delivered the U.S. players back home is still hot. Still, the engines are still cooling down. That's how recent this is. And then
have you verified that yourself? You went and felt,
no. I
listened to the engines.
I listened to another podcast called U.S. Soccer Airplane Talk, and they're the guys who cover all the planes the U.S. Soccer Flyers are playing.
I've confirmed that the engine is still warm. Okay, that is important.
I'm a podcast sleuth here.
It's an important detail.
So that's pretty much the whole story.
Once the plane is cold, you can start talking about stuff. If the plane is still warm, that's wrong.
Leave it be. So there's all sorts of stuff here. I could talk about my thoughts, but I just set the whole timeline. So Bjorn, what are your thoughts and feelings? Let's hear from you for a bit.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's done, right?
Who's the bigger? The thing is, are you on the Greg's team or on Gio's team? What team are you on? There's 2 teams.
I have to pick a. I'm on.
What are your thoughts?
I'm not on either team. I have when I first read this, I thought, oh, this must mean that Berhalter is not going to continue as a coach because he can't really expect to, carry on after this. But then I, after some further kind of looking into it, I realized that it was this sort of these were not public comments. This was like, he's talking at a conference. It was off the road. There were no. It's basically like a seminar meeting type thing. There's no press there. It's not like he's saying this to journalists, and so I think that makes a little bit of a difference.
Well, hold on. It's 2022. I mean, how you can't say anything without it being taken. Everything you say can get recorded and get shared. There's no way he did that speech thinking it would remain private. Do you think he genuinely thought it was going to remain 100% private?
I think he could. I mean, I don't think. I don't think he thought, oh, these are my innermost secrets that could never get out. But I don't think he. I think
they published it in a newsletter. They're like,
I don't think. But they weren't supposed to. They weren't. That wasn't supposed to happen, or they didn't. Like, it wasn't a public. Anyway, I think that makes a difference. He's just talking about it. He's not naming names. I don't know. On the other hand, of course, this is what everybody is like killing him for. Everybody's like, what happened to Gio Reyna? So I think he also probably on some level he wants this to be out there. He wants this to.
Is that appropriate?
I mean, probably not his finest moment in that sense. But also understandable that if you.
Let me paraphrase. Hi, media leadership conference. Listen, everyone came up to me wondering I'm not playing my best player because he's a little bastard, is why. And I want everyone to know that I don't get along with him personally off the field. And, like, I don't care about his Borussia Dortmund. I've never even heard that club. When my day, it was all about Energie Cottbus. That was the real talent. Energie Cottbus was running around. We were the kings of Germany at the time. So I don't want this little Borussia. What was the club called again? Borussia Dortmund? I don't want this little Borussia Dortmund, little bastard, coming up and bothering me.
You heard it.
Okay? So I just want to say I'm vindicated. I didn't play him because he hurt my feelings.
You heard it. Okay? This is why you tune in to the Schnitzel Boys, because no one else will you hear this take that this is Energie Cottbus inferiority complex.
It is
disrespect. Energie Cottbus disrespect lived out.
That's pretty much what he said, though. I mean, I paraphrase, obviously. But he's like,
no, that's not it.
No.
That's not at all what he said.
But he's supposed to keep that to himself.
He tells a story. He tells the story at this like leadership. So he's there to give examples of how he runs the team, of how, and this is what he tells the story for. It's not like he goes there and is like, hey, this is where I'm going to get
He should have had long past examples from Columbus Crew or from
nobody
Hammerby.
Wants to hear that. He's coming off a World Cup. Are you kidding? No. That, I think he at least deserves some benefit of the doubt that he's not telling the story to leak this to the media. He had a lot of other options to do that. I don't think that's.
There's no way. I'm just not buying it. There's no way. Like, he's at a leadership conference in New York. Like, he's not allowed to be like, thank God this will never get out. Me talking about the hot topic of something that finished a week ago. It's ridiculous. It's sloppy from the U.S. soccer press. It's sloppy from Greg. I find it to be inappropriate from a head coach to even the way he said it. We had a player who did this 2 weeks ago. Don't tell that to anybody. That's not anybody's business. Not yet. Wait a bit. Wait till your tell-all later. You got to keep that to yourself. The Gio Reyna was a little bit of a whiny little sourpuss, and he had to discipline him. I agree with that. But then you don't go until I disciplined our best player because he was an idiot. He didn't play. Like, that's inappropriate. Keep that in-house. Keep that stuff in-house. Don't tell Gio to do better for next time. And then now he's 20 years old. I mean, you're really throwing that kid under the bus. And to me, it's just a bigger issue because it's like, it's unfair. We had Christian Pulisic and all these other players come 4 years ago, and they were treated like little saints, and they were amazing to the next level. Now Gio Reyna's coming through, and he's getting treated like shit. Like, I don't understand why he was told.
What? How is he?
Hold on. There's another part to this. Greg Berhalter, the reason he acted out is because Greg Berhalter told him days before the Wales game, days before the World Cup, like, you're not going to be a big part of this World Cup. Who tells a player? What the hell of coaching is that? Who tells that to a player?
Well, I
what
think
kind
that's
of motivation is that?
Well, I mean, we don't know what exactly was said. This is now Gio Reyna telling his side of things. I mean, I think, we heard that rumor in your interview about Zach Steffen and how he was told he wasn't going to be the number one. And I think that's a good quality of a coach to manage expectations and be like, this is what I think your role is going to be, and so on and so on. And then if somebody acts that way, that's a problem. I don't think there's any excuses to be made here for Gio. I mean, he's a talented young player. He has an ego. This is not the first time that's come out. He had some disciplinary issues in the U17 team and got penalized there. There's, of course, now on Twitter, there's some Dortmund guy who's saying, oh yeah, he's got a bratty attitude. I don't know. It's not like, I don't think he's
Stefan, I forgot his name, where Derek Ray has since gone against that. Like,
Derek Ray says he's never heard that. I mean, obviously he's had as a young player, he's become a starter when he's not hurt at Dortmund. So he's not like, obviously he's doing well. Like, there's not. I
understand they love him at Dortmund. How come when he comes off the field? But all of this stuff,
him and Haaland clearly got along. But he is,
but this whole Twitter storm. Whose fault is that? Like, Twitter be like, yeah, he is a brat. All these Twitter people coming up. That started with Greg. Greg made that happen. Is that appropriate? Gio Reyna didn't bring it on himself. He had to respond because people were throwing his name under the bus.
Well, but this doesn't even happen if he doesn't. If he doesn't.
But he doesn't act like that if he has a coach that properly plays him. Like, let's go back. Let's go back. Why is Greg Berhalter going to our most talented young player, the most talented player on the team, and saying, you're probably not going to be a big part of this World Cup? What is that? Why did he do that?
Well, he was coming off an injury. I don't know what exactly. I mean, like I said, we don't know exactly how this.
Tim Weah was coming off a bigger injury.
So what's your take then? Greg just hates Gio because of Energy Cottbus and once only takes him to the World Cup to humiliate him?
The Energy Cottbus thing wasn't 100%. That was sort of a joke.
Okay.
Yeah. It is a little part of it, though, because it is part of a bigger issue to me of the problem with U.S. soccer is the players of old are this old timers club. Where it's like, you ain't that great kid. Back in our day, we blah, blah, blah in 2006. When it's like, no. All of you players are pointless. It's like, these are top flight, way more talented players. And I'm sick and tired of you stooping them down to your level intellectually and tactically.
I think this is totally made up. This idea that's what Greg is doing.
Hold on, but I'm saying Greg's not Pep Guardiola. He acts like it, but he ain't. You have the best player. Play the guy. Bench Timo Weah if you have to. Or play Timo Weah as a false nine. Figure it out. But what he did was he benched Gio Reyna and played Haji Wright. And it's just like, what the heck is that all about?
Because he acted like an asshole, apparently.
In response.
But that's also everything is. It's all Greg's fault. It's all 100% Greg's fault.
No, it's not 100%. No, it's not.
Gio is blameless.
No, Gio's not blameless. Gio should have been disciplined. I agree with that. I don't disagree with that. However, kind of like Weston McKennie, like a year and a half ago when he skipped the hotel room, was thrown on the bus for months.
Yeah,
he freaking crucifies these guys, and it's like, I don't understand. No one's asking the question why Gio Reyna didn't play. Seems like if he was fine with it, he would have played exactly the same minutes he played. He would have played maybe 12 more minutes if he was fine with it. And I'd love to know why. I'd love to know why Greg couldn't find a spot. How come Dortmund can find minutes for Gio Reyna, but the U.S. men's national team can't find minutes for Gio Reyna? That's a big question. I'd love that answered. Yes, but I think, yes, that Gio Reyna should not have acted the way he had. They disciplined him right. All that's proper. He had to apologize in front of everybody. I get all that. But then that's the end of it. Then if you go to some leadership conference in New York and say out loud, and now he has this whole Twitter storm against him, this 20-year-old kid doesn't deserve this. And he has to defend himself. Like, why the hell did Greg do that? That is so inappropriate from the head coach. I have now officially become a Berhalter out person. I don't want him moving forward. I mean, am I wrong? Why did Greg go do that? I don't want to hear the whole he didn't know and be public. It's 2022. It must have been booked last minute because originally they probably were planning to be in the semis. Isn't now? I don't know why he's there now. So they bring him in to do this speech. He talks about what happened a week ago at the World Cup to defend himself. Very selfish, in my opinion. And I think it's very telling of the kind of personality Greg actually is. And I don't really approve of it. So that's my 2 cents. They're not both blameless, but I definitely feel Greg did this way wrong. Everything about it was wrong. If I were Greg, I'd be like, "Hey, Gio, you've been doing great. Just get it going. I really don't know the Wales lineup until the day before. Even if you're not going to start, we're probably going to get you off the bench. We're going to figure you out somehow." You know what I mean? That's how you talk to Gio.
Well, that part we don't know how that went. You're like assuming that he told Gio he wasn't going to play before.
Well, that's what Gio said.
That's probably not what happened.
Well, hold on. I know that's what Gio said. I know that Gio was really sloppy during the Algarafa friendly, which was 3 days before the first game. So he got the news by then. That I know that is facts.
Yeah, but you got to be a team player. And of course he was going to get time. I guess maybe he told him he wasn't going to start. And then he was like throwing a tantrum. No, I don't think this is on Greg at all. I mean, yeah, you can say maybe, yeah, probably if you asked him now, he would say like, "Oh, I wish this hadn't gotten out." And
what do you mean, who? Greg?
Yeah,
Greg's the one who put it out. He made sure of it. He flew to New York to make sure to put it out.
No, but if he wanted to put it out, he would tell this to the press. He just told Dory at a thing.
It's the same.
So this
thing
doesn't.
To me.
All right.
Do you think he legitimately thought that it wouldn't have gotten out?
It
was on their newsletter. They said we transcribed it and put it in the newsletter. I'm sure that was written in the writing somewhere. Like, you know what I mean? Like, even if it wasn't, the U.S. press officer would be like, "Hey, listen, that speech, make sure it doesn't get put in a newsletter." Okay, like someone. It got out. It was going to get out. I mean, it would have been so much easier for that not to get out if anyone put forth any effort to make sure of it. But it seems like no one really did. And kind of like you said in the beginning, I think this is Greg's words because I think he knows he's leaving. I think he's off to go.
Well, that was when I thought he was saying this publicly, like in a press situation. To me, that does make a difference. If you say it doesn't make a difference, okay. I don't know what is in his head or what he's.
Well, let's say
what he thought or wanted to happen, or I don't know that. But
let's go down that. Let's go down that path road. It was private. It wasn't supposed to go out. That sucks. Let's blame the symposium on that, right? Now, if you're at U.S. Soccer, what do you do? Do you resign him after that, or does it affect if you keep? Or...
No, I mean, I don't think it affects. I don't think it affects it. I think it's. Yeah, I mean, I think it's an extra layer of awkwardness, but it's already awkward. Clearly, the relationship's already strained, so that's really neither here nor there. And it's on Gio to kind of work his way back. I don't know.
Would you play for a coach that threw you under the bus in a public setting? I know it was supposed to get out, but it was right away. It was very embarrassing in your career, and then a week later, your head coach went public with it. I mean, obviously, like I said, not on purpose, but it was very sloppy. If you're the player, put yourself in Gio's shoes. But
why is the onus on why do we have to go out of our way to make Gio feel comfortable when he clearly is the one who was not a team who didn't show up as a team player? You see other people, they would, Weston McKennie's dad is tweeting out right around that time. Is tweeting out about, he said something about how Berhalter didn't get enough credit for really focusing on everybody being all bought in or something along those lines. And his son got disciplined. It's like, this is important stuff. You're like building a culture. You're trying to lift your program from like, oh, let's just kind of not embarrass ourselves, to having a real mindset of, this is big stuff. And if he like acts like an asshole, and clearly it wasn't like, I mean, if this vote was 13-12, whatever it was, it's not like everybody was like, oh, Gio has to go. It's like genuinely, it was an issue that people were grappling with. And
my favorite part of the story is Aaron Long taking him aside.
Aaron Long
and be more of a team player,
telling everybody, like,
as a New York Red Bulls player, I'm like, that's rich. You don't even belong on that freaking plane, lazy ass. He's the reason we got eliminated from the freaking playoffs, because he was way too lazy to track back on a player.
You've turned on Aaron Long and Berhalter in the same podcast.
Well, but isn't that part of it? Isn't the play on the field? Don't you get points for that? Like, what's more? Now this does trigger me a little bit, because it does remind me of stuff I deal with in a totally another category. I do a lot of comedy stuff and stuff like that. And there are people who think because they show up to practice on time all the time, that they should get points for that. Like, that's the most important thing. I am of the school of thought that when it's showtime, you got people paying tickets and you're watching yourself. If you can bring it there, you get points for that, in my opinion. People may consider me wrong, but that's just my philosophy of it. I think soccer is the same thing. Is this an exercise in disciplining young players, or are we supposed to be the best we can and get results? Make it to the round of 16 is as good as we've ever done always. It's not.
Those
we didn't
two
go
things
forward.
Those two things go hand in hand.
Well, so for Aaron Long to be like, hey, you should be a better team player, blah, blah, blah. It's like, Aaron Long, you couldn't do anything for us if you wanted to be a team player. So I don't know what's like, he don't even belong there. Gio Reyna, on the other hand, playing half as good as he is, can give you something.
So basically you're saying if Gio Reyna is so good, he gets to do whatever he wants?
Not whatever he wants.
What has he done? I mean, what has he done? Like, people are like, oh, he's the most talented. Yeah, maybe. Like, what is his...
We don't know. He sits on the bench, so we can't see.
But I mean, he came off the bench in the second half, and then what happened? And he had
what's
this
anybody done?
He had that like he was clearly like he had that shot where he like swung he swung his leg so hard he hit the back of his head. Like he was.
Yeah, you only have 45 minutes.
It's always that, this is part of that whole thing where the guy who's not playing is Maradona. Is always Maradona.
We need to see him play.
And then they play, and then it's like, oh yeah, he's not.
I agree that Gio Reyna is 100% in the wrong. I'm not saying he shouldn't be unpunished. However, it seemed like Greg was giving it to the players to make the decision. And to me, that's very unhealthy. I don't love that people only 3 years older than me with a club. Like, I'm worried that the whole culture thing, is it a culture or is it a club? You know what I mean? There is a difference. And I'm very worried that it's becoming one versus the other. And I think for that reason alone, I would love to, if I'm Gio, I don't want to play for Greg anymore. I mean, screw that guy. It embarrassed me and then went in the press about it. I was very young, whatever. I don't want to play for him again. I'm waiting for the next coach. That's just me. Maybe I'm a little bit of a diva. But I'm also playing for Borussia Dortmund. I'm not playing for freaking New York Red Bulls or Renegade Cottbus or Norwich City or any of those other world beater clubs. You know what I'm saying? With other teams like Leo Messi and Neymar, like I know Reyna's no Messi. It's funny because technically Reyna probably could have been on this roster, the Argentinian roster, if he chose a call up. But Messi is in charge of the federation. Like he challenges the federation. He gets what he wants. And it works. And they're about to win. They won a Copa America. There's a good chance they're going to win a World Cup. I'm not saying you have to like it, but at the end of the day, the most talented players you have to make them feel good. I don't know. I don't understand the idea of why like someone would challenge them and punish them and sit them on the bench just to teach them a lesson. Meanwhile, we're losing games and we're getting eliminated early. What's the real reason we're here? We waited 8.5 years. What's the real reason we're here? To do an exercise in discipline or to win and try to be as good as we can be? I don't know. I just feel there's more nuance to it than just like, oh, we should respect his coach. And then the coach is allowed to exhibit behavior to be respected. But it's not black and white. I will tell you that. It is pretty gray. And I do think Greg and Gio both did bad. And I think Greg did bad by speaking afterwards. And I think Gio did bad by acting out like a whiny little baby. So,
Everybody sucks.
Should Greg have handled it better? I think so. I don't like this last part where he was public about it. I don't like where he lied during press conferences about like, oh, he's injured and stuff. I don't like that.
This is okay.
What?
Yeah.
Say it.
I don't. This is not that big a deal to me. This whole thing. I feel like, it's like it was handled. It's too bad it's coming out, but these things do come out. It's going to be forgotten next week. I don't know. Everybody's going to move on. This doesn't really change my opinion about him or anyone one way or another. So the whole like being injured thing. He's trying to be kind to Gio. No, he's saying like, oh, he's not 100%. So that he doesn't say like, oh yeah, well his attitude sucks, so that's why he's not playing.
Well, he clearly didn't control him because Gio said like 5 minutes later, oh, I'm 100%. So like there's something going on between the two of them, and Greg needs to handle it. Not keep it gray and let us speculate and let his players handle it. But pretty much what you're saying is you still want Greg to be the next coach for the next 3.5 years?
I don't have an opinion about that one way or another. I think if he wants to, maybe. I don't know. I don't have any issue with Greg Berhalter as a coach. I think he did well, and I think he could continue if he wants to continue, and everybody feels like that's the right thing, then he should continue. I don't think this is. I think he's. Yeah, I don't think he's getting the credit he deserves. I would still say that, and I think in this case, I don't know. It seems like. Yeah, I think this is like a tempest in the teapot. I think it's done, and
I think if you get invited to a leadership seminar in the symposium somewhere I've never heard of, I think you're getting some credit, right? Someone's acknowledging you for being a leader, and he was more than welcome to take that offer. He's like, what's the honorarium? $40? I'll be there. And he showed up, and he was very proud of himself for the things he said, and. He can buy more sneakers now, I think. He can add to his larger sneaker collection. So, good for Greg. Speaking of coaches and forgetting and is it time for us to talk a little Deutschland? A little bit?
Do we have anything left? Do we have any mojo left?
Well, this is so your take on Greg, that this will soften the blow. Because you can forget that.
What blow?
But can you forget the whole, like you're talking about Gio and Greg? It says it's soccer. You forget it a week later, you move on, you play games. Now, how about this scenario? Let's say your name is Bruno Labbadia, and you get hired to come in and replace the great Pellegrino Matarazzo.
The one and only.
The one and only. And it doesn't. I like how whoever they hire, American, German, whoever it is, they have to have Italian parents. Those are the rules over there. So Bruno Labbadia. And he comes in, and they ask him about Manuel Neuer breaking his leg skiing, which we'll talk about in a second. And he mentions two of his black players. I forgot exactly their names. Koulibaly, I think, and I forgot who the other one was. He said two black players. He's like, thank God those guys don't seem like people who ski. Those guys are more likely going to be those are more beach guys, is what he says. Essentially indicating that thank God he has black players because black people don't ski. They're at the beach, is just what he said. As a matter of fact, not knowing at all if they like skiing or not. It was very much just a general feeling about black players. Now they don't know what skiing is.
Just casual, I guess.
Casual, old school.
Microaggressions, this is called now. Yeah.
So if you're one of those guys and you are a skier, Bjorn, I know you love your skiing.
I love to ski.
You love your chiffon. Let's say you were a black player and your coach, you're in the middle of the slopes, you're going down, and then you get a tweet on your phone about Bruno Labbadia being like, Bjorn isn't a ski type. If you look at his skin color, you'll probably find him at the beach. How would you feel about that? Would you forgive him and go play next week? And what do you think?
Yeah, it's not great.
It's typical German. I hear that all the
I
time.
mean, yeah, it's like it's not certainly, growing up in the 80s and 90s is certainly par for the course. Like it's not an unusual
yeah, it's exactly
kind
something my parents would say.
it's not
But
it's not the kind of thing that you would be surprised to hear, but
is that good man management? Should he be fired right away? What do we do with Bruno Labbadia? He hasn't coached a game for them yet.
well, again, I mean, I know according to you this doesn't matter, but to me always context is important. Like how do these things come up? If he's like drunk at a
There's a
bar,
press conference.
yeah, it's not great.
I'm going to Google this right now. It's not great at all.
It's not great. It's not great.
I think in a press conference, he was asked about the Manuel Neuer situation, and that's what his response was. He's like, "Thank God my black players don't know what skiing is." Something like that. Let me get the exact quote so you can translate it. It doesn't sound as bad as me. It's maybe more of an implication than what I'm saying. It's a pretty strong implication.
Perhaps Sprachgefühl. We need the Sprachgefühl jingle.
Sprachgefühl. Gute Nachricht in Abadia Trubel. I don't know. After it's the chiffon thing. Anyway, I'm going to keep finding this. You tell me. This is response to the other issue.
I mean, is he going to get fired? Is that what's going to happen? Is he getting fired? I think.
Find any news?
A sincere apology might do it. Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe somebody needs to explain to him why that is not a good thing to say.
But also, I can't find much on it at the moment. I should have had this open beforehand. I really wish I could have got his exact quote. What is it? Bruno Labbadia skiing. But this is in relation to the Manuel Neuer thing. What do you think about Manuel Neuer going skiing and breaking his leg?
Well, unfortunate for him.
Is it our players? I'm not mistaken. Players aren't allowed to do stuff like that. They're not allowed to do it because breaking a leg costs Bayern München millions and very well title. So their players have to stay healthy and can't do extraneous activities outside of their contract. So the minute our fearless captain gets eliminated from a second straight World Cup, he supervised. He goes straight to skiing and breaks his leg. I mean,
yeah, I think I looked into this a little bit. They used to have a clause in their contract that they weren't allowed to ski, and then a couple of years ago that changed. Yeah, I mean, it's just
he was allowed to ski, is what you're saying.
He was allowed. Yeah, he was allowed to ski. It was okay for him to go, and so he had an accident. I mean, it's too bad.
Yeah, I mean, it's good for Sven Ulreich. He gets plenty of minutes. He's like, another year? Hell yeah. It's just like, Neuer, keep giving me years. People talk about maybe bringing back Alex Nübel back from Monaco, the young whippersnapper that was supposed to replace Manuel Neuer long term anyway. Overall, I feel that Manuel Neuer has never exhibited great captaincy, in my opinion.
Never exhibited great
on the national team.
You're just turning on people left and right today. Manuel Neuer has a skiing accident. He's never exhibited great I have the love.
Now he can't play for his club for a year. But let's talk about his national team. He was a captain for the 2018, 2020, and then 2022. Three tournaments.
World
he was
Cup
the captain.
In 2014.
He wasn't the captain.
Oh, and then he hasn't been a good. Okay. So the like these are
I'm asking you to defend. You have to defend so many
unpack these takes. So his having a ski accident is a sign of being a bad captain.
I think it shows bad judgment. I think it does. Okay. He's a good goalkeeper.
All right.
But maybe give the captain's armband to someone else. That's all I'm saying.
Okay.
Do you want Manuel Neuer to be our goalkeeper?
Someone's gonna get a chance. He's be out for the rest of the season. If I was a Bayern fan, I'd be pissed, man. The Champions League's coming up.
Of course.
But
I mean, doing skiing.
Listen, you can't go skiing. That seems wrong. Also, I have definitely come down on the side of skiing is good. And
True.
if he
Imagine
has
if he booked this before the tournament, though. Imagine it's like because how quick do you book this? You know what I'm saying? Wasn't he supposed to be at the semifinals right about now?
He's Manuel Neuer. He makes one call and he just shows up places. He doesn't have to. You think he has to? Oh, I'm not going to find a place to stay if I don't book this early enough.
It's not like me where everything's sold out. They have nothing to offer.
Yeah,
me.
you and we need to get bargains. We need to plan ahead. Manuel Neuer decides, oh, I wanted to go skiing this weekend, and he goes. He lives in Munich. He probably doesn't even have to book much. I have the Labadia quote. You want it?
Yeah, is it yeah, please.
When I look at our team, I can't picture many. A Koulibaly or Serhou Guirassy somewhere on skis. Maybe I'm wrong, but I associate them more with the sun.
That's way better. That's way better than I thought. That is good old-fashioned racism.
I mean,
German
stereotyping.
Racism.
Let's stay stereotyping.
Oh, those boys, he mentioned them too specifically. He's like, those boys I associate with the sun. He didn't even say the beach. He just said the sun in general.
The sun, yeah, the sun.
Whereas my dad would
associate
say,
them more with the sun. They're not I mean, he's not wrong in the sense that skiing does have a diversity problem. It's really overwhelmingly white people out there. And
I will say his logic is flawed, though. I mean, skiing's got more sun than anything, right? It bounces off the white snow. There's lots
of sun. Well, I guess, yeah, that's not what he's talking about, but yeah, I mean, I think, and there's many people in the skiing industry who are trying to do something about this and have get all sorts of people to go skiing. There's these indoor ski areas now all over the country being built.
In Qatar,
trying to promote this. Qatar as well. Yep.
We should fly to Qatar and go skiing there and invest in the Qatari future. We need to invest in that country, you and me.
No. Anyway.
So now what's next for Bruno?
He's not going to get fired for that, I don't think.
Just an apology. Is he going to apologize or something? Or?
Probably. He has to say, or at least, I don't know, or at least clarify. It's innocuous enough. It's not like there's enough. I think there's enough qualifiers in there that he's going to be okay.
Yeah, I just think it's funny. Okay, so last
this is
here
an
from
old
Daniel
school.
Young.
This is the kind of thing. This is the kind of thing that we.
This is the kind of stuff you hear in Germany.
You hear in Germany all the time. Yeah.
In Dwayne De Rosario's book, it's Dwayne De Rosario, great Canadian soccer player in his own right, who is, I think, Trinidadian by background or Surinamese, something like that. Yeah. Somewhere in the Caribbean, but not Jamaica. Before his first professional contract was in Germany. He signed a small contract with a small German club. I forgot the name of it, tiny club. And him and this other guy, also I think from Canada or somewhere, was also signed. And they were both Caribbean descent Canadians, but not Jamaican. Mm-hmm. And the newspaper said, this team just got itself a couple new Jamaican players. Dwayne De Rosario and the other guy, I forgot the other guy. So I wish you the best of luck. That was like in the newspaper.
Yeah, there's a lot of that kind of. There's a lot of. It also used to be.
And then there was no retraction, nothing. The newspaper was like, "Who cares? Jamaican, Trinidadian, same difference." Yeah.
Also, most people in Germany will just use Chinese as a synonym for Asian. Like every Asian person is Chinese, according to.
In their defense, that's not just German. I think you get that in Spanish too. I think you get that in a lot of stuff. But
perhaps, yeah.
But we live in a new time.
We can all do better. We live in it. The world's gotten smaller. We no longer live in like completely homogenous societies where we could just make fun of everybody. We can all do a little better.
Google is our friend.
Google is our friend. There's a lot to learn. Not every Asian person is Chinese. Not every black person is Jamaican.
That's just a dude that hangs out on the beach. Is Jamaican. That's true.
It only goes to the.
True.
We're all. It's a big world out there.
Big world.
Will Sean Johnson sign a contract with Bayern now for €2 million? Says Daniel. I hope.
Is that a rumor? There's no way that's real.
No, that's not real. Daniel Young is starting that rumor.
Screw with us.
I mean, Sean Johnson's out of contract. This is something that we can
save for our.
We haven't talked about.
shows.
We haven't. We will. I mean, we're running out of time here, but yeah, there's a lot of rumors about NYCFC players leaving. We may not have much of a squad next season. We'll see.
Well, that'll get dealt with at an appropriate time, I think. Right now, we got a World Cup coming out. We will see you guys next. We got games.
Hold on. Before I'm sorry to interrupt. I was going to ask you one trivia question. What streak? We have a streak going since 1982 that's going to continue through this World Cup. It started in 1982. Did I say 92? I meant 82.
You said 82.
In 1982, we had the final was Germany against Italy. And back then, Karl-Heinz Rummenigge was playing for Inter Milan. And so there were some Bayern players and some Inter Milan players going against each other. And since then, since 1982, every final in the World Cup has had at least one player of either Bayern or Inter Milan. And that is going to continue.
Did you answer the trivia question before I could answer it? What's the question?
It's not a question, it's a fact.
Oh, okay. Well, trivia usually means I guess the trivia factoid. Yeah, I think Bayern München have 4 players.
You would have guessed this? No.
No, not at all. All you have to do is say Bayern Inter for me. Like, aha, that's right. Yeah, I think there are 4 Bayern players in the semis on all four teams. I think.
Yeah.
Right.
We already 3. I
them.
think Bayern has 3.
There's a Croatian because the Moroccan player, the defender, and then I think 2 French players. If not 3.
Yeah, and then 3 French players. The Bundesliga is definitely gonna win a World Cup. There's a Bundesliga player on every team left. But there's also, so that's the Inter Bayern streak is also going to hold. Anyway,
nice.
Here we
go.
Good
on those 2 clubs. Good on those 2 clubs. Inter Milan maybe signing Anthony Robinson. Maybe that's been thought about. Anyway, we will see you after the semis, which will be either a Wednesday or a Thursday night. Maybe, right? You'll see You'll see on our thing, probably Wednesday night.
Watch the space, as they say.
Watch the space. All right, everyone. Tschüss. Auf Wiedersehen. Bis nächste Woche.
Mach's gut.
Bis Donnerstag oder bis Mittwoch.
Bis Mittwoch, Donnerstag. Who knows?